The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Parshat Vayeitzei. And then Yaakov fell asleep on Mount Moriah, and he had a dream. Verse 12, 28:12. He had a dream where the ladder is standing on the ground, and the head reaches heaven. And the angels of God were going up and going down, bow. It says the angels of God were going up and going down, bow in him. Bow with a vav means in him. What does that mean? So Yaakov had this dream. We know the Torah is GPS for the year 2019, and the Torah doesn't tell us any stories. What's the message? So Yaakov had a dream. What's it got to do with me? Well, all of us, aren't we standing on the ground, Avi? And all of us, we want to get to heaven, right? So that all of us have this ladder. And sometimes we climb up, and sometimes we climb down. No, nobody takes a coffee break in a ladder, right? If you're not climbing up, you're climbing down. So Yaakov was teaching us that every person in this life has their own spiritual ladder to climb. And sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down, but on a ladder, nobody stays what? Stays straight. So that's this life is like a ladder. And our goal is after 120 to what? To get to heaven. But it says the angels of God are going up and going down on him. So Baal Shem Tov wonders, what does that mean? Bo, English doesn't say him, right? English says it. Verse 12, doesn't it say it?
And he dreamt, and behold, a ladder was set earthward,
yeah.
And its top reached heavenward, and behold, angels of God were ascending and descending on it.
Yeah, but Bo means him. There's a Chumash here if anybody wants. So Baal Shem Tov points out an amazing idea. On Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, we said in the Sanat Tokef Kedushas Hayom that the day is so holy, awesome Judgment Day that even the angels are trembling. Even the angels are trembling. That's what we say in the Sanat Tokef. The most important prayer on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is we say in the Sanat Tokef Kedushas Hayom Kuyoyev Norav Oyom, awesome day that even the angels are trembling in fright. What do the angels got to tremble about, Avi? They have no free will. Angels can't sin. Take a pill and lie down. What are the angels trembling for? Says the Baal Shem Tov, this is the reason. Angels have no free will. They can't sin. But their destiny and their fate depends on us. What we do down here has cosmic repercussions. Yiddish, Malach Elohim Olim Yardim Bo. Whether angels of God go up or go down, Bo depends on him, us. What an idea. So the Malachim have good reason to tremble on the Yom Adin, even though they cannot do any sin, but their fate and their destiny depends on us. If we do the right thing, Malachim go up. But if we do the wrong thing, Chas v'Sholom, we bring ourselves down, and also what? The Malachim. You got the whole world in your hand. Chanoch, not just the physical world in your hand. Baal Shem Tov said, you got the whole spiritual world in your hand. What we do down here has cosmic repercussions. It's unbelievable. But that's what the Pasuk is teaching us. So Baal Shem Tov points to this Pasuk. The Chaim Volozhin, the same idea he brings from the Mishnah of Da Malamala Mecha. The Mishnah says, know what's above you. Says the Chaim Volozhin, that's not how you punctuate the Mishnah. Da Malamala, comma, Mimcha. If you want to know what's going on upstairs, whether the angels of God are going up or down, Mimcha. What does Mimcha mean? It's from you. Same idea that the Baal Shem Tov says on this verse, Chaim Volozhin brings on the Mishnah and Avot. So the awesome power of a human being to control not just his own destiny and fate, F-A-T-E, but also what? The fate of the Malachim as well. And that's what this pasuk is teaching us according to the Baal Shem Tov. So he had this prophetic dream on Temple Mount, Mount Moriah, the place of the universe. Now, there are no extra words in the Torah, Chanoch. Look at verse 11. It's important, that's why I brought the books. Verse 11, it says he encountered the place. This must be the place. Genesis 28:11. He encountered the place, he slept, and he took from the stones of the place, and he slept on the place. What's place got to do? Why keep repeating Yehuda in verse 11, Ba'makoim, Ha'makoim, Ba'makoim? I get the picture. He was in the place. He slept in the place. Why repeat 3 times? Ha'makoim, which place was it, Chanoch? Temple Mount. there are 3 Beis HaMikdash is going to be here. So Mokom is written 3 times, Chazal say, because Yaakov was alluding to the 3 temples. The first 2 and the third one. The third one. So therefore the word Mokom on Temple Mount is written 3 times, alluding to the 3 temples that are going to be on Temple Mount. Hopefully the third one very soon, right? That's why they can't get a government together. They just can't, because they have to wait for Melech HaMashiach. Step aside, guys. They just can't get it together. Rav Kaduri predicted years ago, this is on, you can Google it, that before Mashiach comes, there'll be 2 candidates for prime minister, both named Benjamin, Yedid Hashem, and they won't be able to form a government, he said. And that's a sign that the Mashiach is very, very close. Rav Kaduri said this many, many, many years ago, okay? So, Rav Kaduri, Yitzchak Kaduri, the great Kabbalist who died at 117. Some say 116, others say 117, but he was up there. He got a bracha from the Ben Ish Chai, and he said that right before Mashiach comes, that there'll be 2 candidates for PM, both named Benjamin. You hear this? And they won't be able to get it together. And this is the that's his name. Yeah, verse 13. Hashem is standing over him. Hashem is standing over him in the what? In the dream. And he says, I'm the God of your father, Abraham. But Abraham wasn't his father. Should have said, I'm the God of your grandpa, Abraham, and the God of your... Right? You know that says in verse 13, I'm the God of your father. But Abraham was not his father. Abraham was what? His grandfather. From here, Chazal learn out that a grandfather is like a father. So the God of your father, Abraham, and the God of Yitzchak. By Yitzchak, it doesn't say father. Isn't that strange, Abraham? It says, look at the verse. The God of Abraham, your father, who was his grandpa, and the God of Yitzchak. By Yitzchak, it doesn't say what? It doesn't say father.
Why is that?
Good question.
13.
Let's think. A father in Hebrew is not just a parent. A father is a role model. Parent supposed to be a role model. Please hear me well. Yaakov was going to Schmutzloritz now. It's going to Ocean Parkway, right? Syria. A lot of... His father never stepped foot out of Eretz Yisrael. Who did? His grandfather. So you want to know how to act in the Chutzloritz, not to become contaminated. So your grandfather is your role model. Your father can't help you now, Daniel, because your father never left Eretz Yisrael. He's a Ola Tamimah. So he can't be your role model to follow, because he doesn't know what it's like in Schmutzloritz.
Wow.
So Akei Avram Avicha. In this case, your role model leader can only be grandpa, because grandpa also went to Schmutzloritz.
Wow.
So follow his example, how to stay what? Untainted. But your pa can't help you here because he never made it to Schmutzloritz. So therefore it doesn't say Avicha by Yitzchak. Okay? You like that?
Yeah, pretty good. Who
Pretty good.
said
Fianias Daiti. One of my Rebbeim probably. I didn't make it up, right? So he has a dream of a ladder, right? He has a dream of a ladder. Now, in Temple Mount, he renames the place. He had the dream on Temple Mount. Look at verse 19. Look at verse 19. He called the name of that place. Which place? Mount Moriah, Bethel. Right? But the name of the city was Luz. Bill, very important. I need to know that 3,700 years ago, the name of Temple Mount was Luz. Who cares? The Torah is not geography. The Torah is GPS. Why tell me in verse 19 that Temple Mount used to be called what? Luz. You hear the question on the table?
Called Bethel?
He named it. Yaakov Avinu called it Bethel, the house of God. Look at verse 17. He said this is the house of God. See verse 17?
Okay.
He named Temple Mount Bethel because that's the house of God, the gate of heaven. But the Torah has to tell me that before that, Temple Mount was called Luz. Who cares? And why tell me about it? The Luz, the Gemara Sanhedrin says, the Luz is that bone that's on the back of the neck. The Luz bone's connected to the neck bone's connected to the Luz bone. The Luz is that bone that connects the head to the body. The Zohar tells us where's the neshama located? In the head. The neshama is in the mind. When you take an X-ray of your head, the brain shows up, but the mind doesn't show up, right? Remember that commercial? A mind is a terrible thing to waste? Mind. The mind doesn't show up on X-ray because the mind is the neshama. The neshama rests inside the head, the mind, not the brain. So the Talmud is telling us that the luz is that instrument that connects the neshama to the guf. That's exactly what Temple Mount is. It's the hook that connects the heavenly to the earthly. So Yaakov had a dream with a ladder, and the place used to be called Luz. What is Luz, Chano? Hook and Ladder Company. Don't you get it, Yehuda? Hook and Ladder Company? You're not from New York. The fire department, hook and ladder, right? So Luz means a hook. Just like the Luz bone in the back of the neck is that bone that connects the head to the body, the neshama, which is inside the head, the mind to the body, it connects the soul to the body. So Temple Mount is that place that connects the heavenly to the earthly, where heaven and earth meet up. And therefore Temple Mount is called Luz. Pretty interesting. The Talmud says that that bone is indestructible. Even though the body is incinerated, that Luz bone remains. And Tchiyat HaMesim will begin with what? With that bone. Because that bone is indestructible. That's the link, the hook that hooks the neshama to the guf, that hooks heaven to earth. And that's Temple Mount, where heaven and earth hook up. The link of the ladder. Heaven and earth, the hook, is Temple Mount. That's what Yaakov saw. And the ladder that connects heaven and earth. So he renamed the place Bethel. Bethel. Right? Now it's very strange. It's very strange that, look what he says in verse 16. He woke up from his dream and he said, God is in this place and I didn't know it. What? What do you mean I didn't know it? Which stones did he take from? From his father's Akedah. Where was Akedah's Yitzchak Avi? On Temple Mount. That's why Avram Yitzchak had this awesome sight of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Akedah. So how could he say that God is in this place and I didn't know it? Hello? What do you mean he didn't know it? Whose stones is he taking? Where is he naming Bethel?
We didn't know that.
What do you mean? He took my Avnei HaMakon. It says he took from the stones of the place, which his father's Akedah. His father never took him on a trip there.
No.
Right? His father didn't tell him it's Temple Mount?
No, he was never there.
What do you mean never there?
Avram and Yitzchak were there.
Yeah, but Rashi says that the place that he went is Har Moriah. He went there on purpose. Chazal say he went there on purpose to daven in the place of his father Akedah. He went there on purpose. So if he went there on purpose to daven, how could he think that God is not in this place? Isn't that very, very strange?
You know exactly what it was.
What? He took my Avnei HaMakam, of course he knew. He took from the place of the stones of the temple, of the Akedah. So Rav Soloveitchik explains this idea. He says, why is Mount Moriah still holy today and Har Sinai has no Kedusha at all today? The mountain where God spoke to us face to face, heaven and earth met, Har Sinai, has no Kedusha today. Not only that, we don't even know where it is.
I think we do know.
No, we don't. We don't care. On Shavuos, please. On Shavuos, there should be tours. Let's go back to where it all began. Chabad should have a Chabad house there, right?
Yeah.
On Har Sinai, especially eat cheesecake where it all began, on Mount Sinai, right? No, we don't even care where it is. No Kedusha at all. And yet, God revealed himself in all of his glory, and we don't care where it is. Mount Moriah, God never revealed himself in all of his glory as he did on Har Sinai, and yet Mount Moriah is just as holy today as ever. Ma nishtana. So Soloveitchik explains that on Mamid Har Sinai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it all. We were a memtesh shari tuma. There was no input on our part, no mesiras nefesh. So Hashem revealed himself. What do you do when the show is over? You go home. So we didn't impart any kedusha to Mamid Har Sinai. There was no input on our part, no mesiras nefesh. So therefore the kedusha is only temporary. Masha Ein Kain, Mount Moriah. Who infused Mount Moriah with Kedusha? Avraham and Yitzchak. The Mesiras Nefesh of Akedat Yitzchak. So Yaakov didn't realize. Yaakov thought that Mount Moriah is like Har Sinai. When the Shekhinah's there, then beam me up. He didn't realize that Mount Moriah remains eternally holy, unlike Har Sinai, which when the revelation is over, goodbye and good luck. But Mount Moriah is different because his father and his grandfather's Mesiras Nefesh sanctified the mountain for all time. Unlike Har Sinai, where there was no Mesiras Nefesh on our part, therefore Har Sinai is not holy at all. We don't even care where it is, unlike Mount Moriah, which is just as holy today as ever, because we did it together with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Mesiras Nefesh of what? Of the Akedat Yitzchak. So Yaakov wakes up, and Hashem promised him he'll take care of him. And he says in verse 21, what does he say there? V'shafti b'shalom l'beisod v'yohai Hashem li l'alehim. When I return in peace to my father's house, only then will God be a God for me. That's what the Hebrew says. What do you mean? Well, he's in Ocean Parkway, he doesn't have a God. What does he say in verse 21? How do they read that in verse 21? What? When I return in peace, where's my father's house? Where? Beersheba. Only then.
Will God be a God? Hashem will be a God.
So what's he saying? Says Nachmanides, this is the verse that the Talmud in Subas page 110 makes a very strange statement. Anyone who lives outside of Israel is like he has no God. How could the Talmud make such a bizarre statement? Says Ramban, this is the source. Yaakov is saying, only when I come back to my father's house in Israel, only then will it be Hashem. But Nebuch, while I'm in Shmutzlar, it's Nebuch. It's like I have no God. How do they learn this in Lakewood, Avram? I don't know. Or Crown Heights. But anyway, that's Nachmanides on this verse. He says this is the source, how the Talmud in Ksubas knows that anyone who lives outside of Israel has no God. So why should it be like that?
21.
So Nachmanides has a whole arichas on this, and he explains, if you look in the book of Daniel, when God created the world, he apportioned heavenly ministers to take care of each country. Every country has a heavenly angel that runs the show. Even though God doesn't need any help. But God apportioned, you look in the book of Daniel, every Medina has their angel that's in charge. The only Medina that has no angel in charge of it is what? Eretz Yisrael. So Ramban says, even though you're worshiping God outside of Israel, but who's in charge of that country? It's a Malach. So even though you're worshiping God, but the Malach is there. So he's like in the middle. He's blocking your direct access to Hashem. Only in Eretz Yisrael can we have a direct relationship with God. Here it's a local call. Get it? Local call. So this is what the Ramban is. How did I learn this Ramban in Lakewood? I don't know, but this is the Ramban on verse 21. Okay? So Yaakov makes this vow, right? And then in verse 29:1, what does it say? 29:1. Yudah.
29:1 says, so Jacob lifted his feet.
Jacob lifted his feet. What does that mean? Became the road runner. What does that mean, Billa? Yaakov lifted his feet. Just say he traveled. What do you mean he lifted his feet?
He got there fast.
He got Nike sneakers. What does it mean he lifted his feet? What is the message for the year 2019? Because we know the Torah, Daniel, is what? It's GPS. Yaakov is teaching us that even your feet can be lifted up to Hashem. Person can run to a disco, chas v'sholom, or run to the OU, or the diaspora yeshiva. A person can sanctify even his feet. Vayisa Yaakov raglo. Yaakov lifted. Vayisa means to elevate. Every part of your body can be elevated to serve Hashem. Even your feet, that you walk in the dust, you can elevate it by serving Hashem if you walk to the right place. Like the OU, right? Right? Now the Torah goes on. Take a look. So he comes to Haran, which is today Syria, right? And he meets these shepherds, and he says to them in verse 4, my brothers, from where are you? Right? And he says, we're from Haran. That's Syria. Okay? What do we need to know? This is 3,800 years ago. Yaakov meets some shepherds on some lonely well in Syria. And he says, hey, my brother, where are you? Who cares? The Torah Chanoch is GPS for the year 2019. What's the message? You my question? And in verse 7, Gila, what does he say to them in verse 7? What does he say to them in verse 7, Bila?
Look, the day is still long.
Mm-hmm.
It is not yet time to bring the livestock in.
Yeah.
Water the flock.
Water the flock. 1 second.
Go on grazing.
1 second. Yeah. Water the flock and go graze. He sees these shepherds hanging around by the water cooler. They didn't punch out. They're stealing the boss's time. He says, guys, today is what? It's not 5 o'clock yet. What are you hanging around by the water cooler wasting the boss's time? Go back to work.
So who made him judge?
1 minute. Who are you, man?
Exactly, who are you?
What's the message for the year 2019, Chanoch? What a message. My Rabbi Rapam said, what a message. Yaakov is rebuking them. But before you rebuke somebody, look at verse 4. He called them what?
Brother.
He ain't heavy, he's my brother. If you don't love the person like a brother,
If you treat him
then
like a brother,
don't you
then
dare rebuke him.
Exactly.
What a message for the year 2019. What a message, Avram. Not ancient history. Yaakov's rebuking them. You're not Beseder. But before he said that, he made them feel like a brother. I love you like a brother. When you give rebuke because you love the person, you make him feel like a brother, then there's a chance he'll succeed. But if you're just going to yell at him and you don't show brotherly love, don't you dare rebuke him. That's what Yaakov was teaching us over here. Pretty interesting, huh? Now, he says, Vishafti b'shalom. See verse 21? I will return b'shalom. The Gemara Bracha 64 tells us, when you're speaking to a live person, you say, Lishalom. You hear this? Only when a person is dead, you say, b'shalom. Bracha 64 says, didn't Yaakov study that Gemara? Daniel, he studied the whole Torah. 14 years in Shem Ve'ever, Aryeh, he didn't sleep. He skipped Brachas, page 64, Aryeh. Why did he say, B'shafti b'shalom? Can you pass him a book? It should have said, he's alive, he's not dead. To a live person, you say, Lishalom, go towards peace. But when a person is dead, you say, B'shalom. Yaakov is not dead, he's still alive. Hear my question? So the answer is, my humble opinion, he's going to Chutz La'aretz now. Chutz La'aretz, you're like spiritually dead. Yeah, are you the idea? Should have said, V'shafti Lishalom. A live person, you say, Lishalom. Person or lady that's dead, at the funeral, you say, B'shalom. But he's alive. But he's teaching us that Nebuch, if you hang out the Shmutz La'aretz, maybe you have no choice, but you're like spiritually dead. And therefore he says, B'shalom, Avram, and not Lishalom. Powerful message.
Shalom.
Shalom. Lech Lishalom, oh B'shalom, Lech. The Shafti. No, a living person, you say Lishalom. And he said B'shalom over here. So the question is why, and we figured it out, okay? Interesting. So Yaakov, on Bereshit 29:10, so he sees his cousin, Rachel, right?
Yeah.
And he kisses Rachel. See verse 11?
Yeah.
29:11, Avram. You kiss on the first date? Huh? Yaakov kissed Rachel and then he cried because he figured his Rebbe would find out. Verse 11. You see that verse 11?
I'm just saying.
He kissed Rachel and he cried. Rashi said he cried.
He didn't even know that she was the daughter of...
No, he knew. It says, verse 10 says he knew.
And he knew he wasn't
Verse
going to be
10.
buried with her.
He cried because he saw Baruch HaKodesh, he's not going to be buried with her. So what are you crying now? Now is a happy time. What are you crying? That you won't be buried with her? Who's talking about being buried? Huh? So you see there's a connection between what? Marriage and death. The chassan wears a kittel under the chuppah. Right? And just like marriage is a new beginning, death after 120 is a new beginning. We marry a Kodesh Baruch Hu, Kavayachol. The connection. There's 7 days of Shiva, 7 days of Sheva Brachas. It's not Kawiki Dinky. 2 times it's all about the person. On the wedding day, it's all about the person. And on the day he dies, it's all about the person. So do you see this connection between marriage and death? When a tzaddik dies, it's called Hilula. In Kabbalistic language, it's the wedding of the neshama with Kodesh Baruch Hu. So just like marriage is a new beginning after 120, it's a new beginning. Where the neshama marries Kaviyachol God. The Gemara in Mayat Kotan 28 says, Shet tzaddik niftar min ha'olam, Kodesh Baruch Hu mesameach im ha'neshama kechatan im ha'kala. So perhaps this is the connection over here. Now, so Yaakov is fooled on his wedding night. He's fooled. He's deceived. Yaakov's weird wedding. So why tell me about it? So it happened. Sounds like a hell of a maisa. So why tell me about it for the year 2019? Look at chapter 29, 25, Avram, 29, 25. In the morning it was Leah. And at night it wasn't Leah. Right? So Rachel gave over the Simonim. Remember, she gave over the Simonim. She didn't want her sister to be humiliated and shamed. Nachon? All night long he thought he's with whom? Rachel. All night long. Remember, they were twins. They had the same voice. All night. Rachel went, just like Yaakov and Esav were twins, and Esav was the older twin. Chazal say, good thing you came today, you see?
Yeah.
Rachel and Leah were twins, and Leah was what? The older twin. So their voices were very similar. So all night long, he thought he's with whom? And the Boki discovered, Leah. So he was faked out. So it happened. So why tell me about it? And isn't it bizarre that the first Jewish wedding should be a deception? So it happened. And what is the message for us? So my great baby Rapam Zatzal said the message is, every Jewish wedding is this way. You think you're marrying a Rachel? Surprise! You really wind up with a Leah, or vice versa. You think you're marrying a Ruvain? Surprise! He turns out to be a Naphtali. Surprise! Please hear me well. What a message. What a message. Why the chassan veils the kala? My Rebbe Rapam said, Aryeh, why does the chassan veil the kala? Why? So Rapam explained this idea. You're saying to the kala, I'm marrying not just the part of you that is revealed and known to me, but also the part that's covered up. Hidden, it'll come out who knows when, maybe 9 years later. I'm marrying that part as well. So every wedding you think you're marrying a Rachel, you wind up with what? With a Shoshana. Or vice versa. You hear what's going on over here? What a message. In every wedding there is this deception. It's never what you thought it's going to be. You're always going to be disappointed and surprised. So what? Oichet gut, my Rebbe said, Oichet gut. Did Yaakov divorce her? No. You can't always get what you want, but you get what you need.
But if you try sometimes.
But you get what you need. You think you don't need a Leah? You need a Leah too, right? Sometimes she wears a blonde wig, sometimes she wears a red wig, right? So this is the message over here that my Rebbe said, that every Jewish wedding is like this. You'll be pleasantly or unpleasantly surprised and perhaps disappointed, but this is what you need, your tikkun. Yaakov didn't know that, but Leah knew that. She knew that without her, there's no what? Kuhuna, there's no Leviah, there's no Malchus Beis David, there's no Mashiach without her. She knew. He didn't know. Pretty amazing, right? Now, Leah names all of her children. Take a look what she says. She called them Ruvain. See that, verse 32? Why did she call him Ruvain? Verse 32, Avram. Verse 32. Why did she call him Ruvain? Now my husband will love you. Ruvain, see your son. Oh, God saw my anguish. Now my husband will love me. All of the children are named because of her longing and madly in love with her husband. So why tell me about it in the year 2019? What is the message? What's in a name? Leah names the kids, in Tanakh, the women name, to gain love and favor of her husband. The names represent the longing of Leah to get close to her husband. And what's the message for us? Who's our husband? Capital H. Shira Shirim. And we are God's wife, Kaviyachol. So our tafkid is like Leah. We have to long to bond and unite with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Like Leah longed to be what? Close in her husband's love. We constantly have to strive to bond and get closer with our heavenly husband. And the Rambam says the highest duty of a Jew in this world is to be madly in love with the one above. So Mama Leah's search to be madly in love with Yaakov is what? What's the word? Metaphor. For us to be madly in love with our spouse. Kavayochla Kodesh Baruch Hu. If you read the book of Shir Hashirim, you see how that plays out. You see how that plays out. So that's what Leah was teaching us. Leah. What does her name mean? Lamed Aleph Hey. What does Lamed mean in Hebrew? Lamed means to teach. Aleph. Aleph, Echad. Who's the Echad? Hey, Hashem. Leah's teaching that the tafkid in life is to get close to the one above. Her longing for her husband is a message for us that we should long to get close to our heavenly husband, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Aleph is Echad. Lamed, Leah. Lamed, Aleph, Hey. Lamed, Lamad. Teaching that Echad, Hey. Aleph. That the Echad, the one and only, is the Hey, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's the only one. That's what Mama Leah was teaching us. Pretty interesting. Women have a bina yetera. The word neshama, the word Torah, the word mitzvah is all what? Feminine. So why do we make a strange bracha, Aryeh? Shlo Yisani Isha. Why do we make that every morning? We're putting down women? Chas v'sholem. My Rebbe said as follows. He said this in 1974, I think. I have good notes. It wasn't so before women's movement. He said as follows. We say, Harei at mikudeshes li. Harei at mikudeshes li. In order for me to attain my Kiddusha, it's only what? Because of you. You hear what we're saying to the Kala? The husband must remind himself daily that Hashem didn't make me a woman. So therefore I must marry one to gain my full potential Kiddusha. Harayat mukudeshet li. My Kiddusha in life is only complete and fulfilled, what? Because of you, my darling Kala. Harayat mukudeshet li. So Shelo Yisani Isha is not a put down, Aryeh, faket. I have to remind myself every day I'm not a woman, so therefore I have to marry one in order to gain my shleimus hanefesh, to gain my complete full potential. If she doesn't have to get married, there's no mitzvah for a woman to get married because she's complete without a husband. There's no mitzvah for a woman to get married. You know that? Yeah. She's complete without. But we can only attain our shleimus by what? Getting married. Gemara in Yevamos Samach Gimel said, if a man has no woman, what? If he has not married, he's chatzi. She's like. So this is the message. In every Jewish marriage, expect to be disappointed, expect to be pleasantly or unpleasantly surprised, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That's what you need. You don't only need a Rachel, you need a Leah, or vice versa, right? Different personalities. It comes out after the wedding, so you cover the Kala's face. I'm marrying you, even the part that is still covered up. I will love that part as well. Powerful message that the Torah is teaching us. Now, the Torah goes into a great arichos about the Dedoyim, about the mandrakes, right? Rachel wanted it, Leah wanted it. What are these mandrakes, and why spend so many psukim? Bereshis 30, verse 14, 15, 16. What's it all about? All the mandrakes. She wants the mandrake, he wants the mandrakes. This happened 3,700 years ago, Avi. Why should I care for the year 2019? You had a question? So what says the great Nachmanides, talking about the holy mothers of Israel. They were prophetess. They wanted to have children. So daven to Hashem. It's not enough. God only helps those who help themselves. The great Nachmanides. They had trouble having kids. They wanted more kids. You have to daven, but you also have to what? Go derech hateva. Ein somchen al hanes. You do what you have to do. Right? Treatments, if you need treatments, nothing to be ashamed of. God only helps those who help themselves. And therefore, this Parshat is recorded in the Torah for posterity. Says the great Nachmanides, no matter how great a tzaddik you are, and you daven, of course you have to daven. But you also have to go through what? Al pi teva. So this was either it was a fertility drug or aphrodisiac or whatever, somehow that helped to give birth. So a person has to try to help himself. You hear that? And that's why this parsha is called, yes?
But she was dying.
What is Dudaim?
Rashi calls it jasmine. The English translates, I think, mandrake. What do they say in English? Mandrake. Ramban, who was a doctor, said it's a fertility drug to help a woman get pregnant. So a person has to help himself. This is one of the messages of the Torah. So what is the message over here? That Rachel gives it up for Leah. She was supposed to marry Yaakov. She gives it up for him. She was mevater. She never knew that Yaakov would marry on the rebound. Right? She never knew that. And therefore Jeremiah 31 tells us that the final geula will come in whose chus? Not in Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob. In the chus of whom? Not Moses, Chanoch. Only Rachel. Jeremiah 31, not the bullfrog, the prophet. Jeremiah 31, that the final geula will come only because of Rachel, because she gave it up for her sister. To spare her sister shame and humiliation, she gave up the man she loved. She never knew Yaakov would take her on the rebound. So God says, that act is more precious to me. When you give it up for somebody else, that's going to bring the geula. Just Rachel. Rachel demonstrated unbelievable love for whom? For Leah. Giving up a man that she loved, a lifetime of happiness. Again, she didn't know Yaakov would take on the rebound. Perhaps he'd be mad at her. What are you giving away the signals for? You double-crossed me. It's worth it to me to spare my sister shame and humiliation. And this explains something very strange. If you look in Samuel 2, chapter 1, when David HaMelech finds out that Yonatan was killed by the PLO, Saul and his sons, one of them was Yonatan, David's very close friend, they were killed by Arafat. I mean, the Palestinians. He makes a very strange eulogy, Yehuda. Samuel 2, chapter 1, verse 26. He says, Tsar li Yonatan, niflata ahavotech li mehavat noshim. Very strange pasuk. Very strange. Tsar li Yonatan. Sorrow Yonatan, you brought me great sorrow. Niflat avosech. Your love is more wondrous to me than the love of a woman, than the love of women. That's what he says. That's how you eulogize your best friend. Some people were talking there. Should I read it again? Charlie Yonatan. Niflat avosech li mahavat noshim. Oh, Yonatan, you pain me. You cause me so much anguish. It's a pele. That the love that I have for you, you have for me. Your love for me, havotech li, your love you have for me is stronger and more wonderful than the love of women. Now, what the heck does it mean about that? You sitting down? Are you strapped in?
Doesn't sound so good.
No, it's good. It's honest.
What does it mean? Mindlo, are you strapped in?
Everything is good.
You're not strapped in. Told my great Rabbi Rapam, what a message. What he meant was, please hear me well. Please hear me well. Rachel gave it up for Leah. Who does David come from? Leah. Who does Yonatan come from?
Rachel.
From Rachel.
Binyamin.
Didn't Yonatan give it up for David? Yonatan. The throne was his. He did exactly what his grandmother Rachel did. He gave it up to a son of Leah.
How did he give it up?
Read the book of Samuel, all right? He is supposed to be the king after Shaul. But he says, I give it to you. I give you. He did exactly what his grandmother Rachel did for what? For King David's grandmother Leah. So this is what he's saying over here. Yonatan, it's a pele. Your love is like the love of the women. Which women? Which women? Rachel and Leah. There's nothing fishy here. He had an explanation. You did for me what the two women did for each other. Which two women? Our grandmothers. They were Havas Noshim. What Rachel did for Leah, gave it up. Her right, she was supposed to be Yaakov's wife. She gave it up. So you, Yonatan, acted like your grandma. Who's Yonatan's grandma? Rachel, right? Comes from Benjamin. And who's David's grandma? Leah. So this is Mahavas Noshim. Nothing fishy about this. The love you displayed for me is like the love of the two women, Rachel and Leah. And that's what King David was referring to at his eulogy, praising him, that he acted like his grandmother. It was a vatran.
What was his motive?
What was his motive? He felt that David HaMelech is more worthy than him. Right?
Right?
He felt David is more worthy, right? Right? Now, the strange Rashi over here, why is Rachel not buried in the Moriah Machpelah? Why is Rachel not buried in the Moriah Machpelah? Why?
To bring the children.
So Rashi says, because she gave up her turn to sleep with the tzaddik. Yaakov had 4 wives, and every night he went to a different tent. And it's supposed to be Rachel's turn, but Rachel said to Leah, if you give me the mandrakes, I'll give up my turn, and you can have them for tonight. Husband for the night? So Rashi said, because she gave up her turn to sleep with the tzaddik, therefore she was not zoicha to sleep with the tzaddik for eternity in where? Moriah Machpelah. Getting that? Okay. You getting this?
Yeah.
What got to do with smartphones?
Movies and treats are going on.
What?
On the phone.
Right? It was your turn. What do you give up your turn to sleep with the tzaddik for? For a bunch of mandrakes? You get the mandrakes, go to the drugstore the next day and get the mandrakes. Get a prescription, 1 minute. But in Parshat Vayeitzei, Rashi gives a totally different reason. Al pi adibur. Al pi adibur. God commanded Yaakov to bury Rachel outside the cave on the lonely road to Bethlehem, because centuries later, when the Jews go into exile, which road will they pass? That lonely road to Bethlehem. Who will mispalel for them? Rachel. Vishavu banim lugvulam. And because of Rachel, they passed her grave on the isolated road. She had to be buried there. Because the final gula will only come what? So Rashi, make up your mind. Is it because she gave up her turn with the tzaddik, didn't appreciate him enough? Or is it because she has to be on that lonely road, not in the cave, to be responsible for the final gula? Rashi, make up your mind. There seems to be, Daniel, a paradox. What's the word in English? Contradiction. So to answer this question, we will what?
Ask another question.
Famous question, the Rambam and all the great Rishonim asked, how can we really have free will? God has a plan, and he has foreknowledge. How do I really have free will, Chanoch? God has a plan, and that plan is what? Unmovable. So how do I really have free will? And so he says that this question is what? The answer is, you ever play chess with a grandmaster? Try it, Daniel. Like chess? Play chess with a grandmaster. When you're playing chess with a grandmaster, you're moving independently. You're moving your rook. You're moving your what? The pawn. Bishop. What else? The bishop. Bishop tonight. You're moving. But the grandmaster controls the game. This is the answer. We are playing chess with the grandmaster of the universe. So Rachel and all of us are doing what we're doing. But he's guiding the game. He controls the board. Because she had to be outside of that cave. She acted independently. She could not have given up the mandrakes. Right? If she would have slept with the tzaddik. But God, he has his plan. I'm moving independently. But he has his plan. She had to wind up there. So if she wouldn't have, she had free will to what? To not to give up the turn with the tzaddik. But she acted independently. Little did she know that she's playing chess with the grandmaster of the universe. He's controlling the board and the game. This Rav Ari Kaplan answers this, what's the word in English? Stira? A contradiction paradox. Okay? Pretty interesting. We'll take questions after, because I'm here for questions. We'll take questions. What a powerful idea, what Rashi's telling us. Powerful idea. Now, the end of the Parshat. You can go on for this part. You spend a year on. We still have 5 minutes. No, this is a very important point. I'll take questions afterwards. After we finish, God comes to him and says it's time to go back to Eretz Yisrael. Right? Bereshit 30. God comes to him. It's time to go back to Eretz Yisrael. Right? And he tells his wives that. Bereshit 31, verse 13. 31:13, guys. He's quoting, God says, I'm the God of Bethel. Did you vow to me? See that verse 13, anybody?
I am the God of Bethel, where you appointed a pillar, where you made a vow. Now arise, leave this land, and return to your native land.
He's telling this to what? To his wives, right? So what should the women have said? Well, if God told you to move back to Pisgat Zev, let's start packing. They're in Ocean Parkway now for many years. I mean Syria, a lot of Syrians there. Ocean Parkway. So you're talking to the mothers of Israel. What should they say? Well, of course, Yaakov, if God came to you, let's start packing, call up Elul. They don't say that. Look what they say. The mothers of Israel are talking. Look what they say in verse 14 and 15. They answer, do we still have a portion here in Ocean Parkway? We're like strangers here. Right? Our father doesn't treat us right. Things are terrible over here. He took our money. He betrayed us. He treats us like what? Slave girls. And then he says, verse 16. Then verse 16, anybody? This is the women speaking to the wives speaking to Yaakov. What they say? No, 16.
But all the wealth that God has taken away from us and even totally consumed our money. Our women that are taken away from us.
Our father swindled us. He's a swindler.
Totally, yeah.
So how we can't stick around here. It's terrible here. And by the way, Daniel, Hashem told you to go. Let's go. This should have been the first thing. They're talking to the mothers of Israel, prophetess. Hashem told you to go, let's go. Why do you get the whole song and dance? It's terrible here. A schwindel, we're abused. And oh, by the way, Avram Berkowitz, by the way, if Hashem told you to go, let's go. What's going on, Mindel? And this is 37 years ago. And these are the mothers of Israel. Who are they talking to?
To us.
Only talking to the husband. It wouldn't be in the Torah. What are the mothers of Israel teaching us, Aryeh? You sitting down. The mothers of Israel. They don't say right away, Hashem told you to go. Sure, Hashem told you to go. But some of the kinderlach are not there. Hashem, I want tachlis. You got to point out to your kids that living in Schmutz Lawrence is terrible. Christmas trees and Santa Claus and intermarriage. You have to talk tachlis. That it's much better in Israel on a practical level. The mothers of Israel are teaching us. Some of the kinderlach can't be late, so God said. I'm not there yet. I'm not a tzaddik. Point out to your kids the practical advantages of leaving Schmutz Lawrence and coming here. Intermarriage and mugging and terrorism, much worse than there. All the anti-Semitism going on there. And Christmas and New Year's, all the Goyish holidays, the kids become indoctrinated with Santa Claus, right? The klutz there. So you have to deck the halls with schmaltz and chali. Schmaltz and chali? No. You hear what's going on over here, Avram? Are you getting this? Otherwise, what is Mama Leah and Rachel telling us? It's terrible in Schmutz Lawrence. We're strangers. And God said to go. Some of my kids can't be late to God. I'm not such a heilige bench. I'm not such a heilige mensch. Practical. It's much better here. What a message. Are you getting this? And why tell me this? What a message. For our brethren that are still what? In Schmutz Lawrence.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.